Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Elizabeth, and I'm with ACRC Global. I work closely with intended parents and support many families as they explore fertility treatment, donor options, and family building journeys. Today's topic is one that we hear about more and more: fertility options after 38 or 40, understanding IVF, egg quality, embryo testing, and family building options. As more people choose to build families later in life, questions around fertility, IVF success, egg quality, donor eggs, and even surrogacy have become increasingly important. And we're very honored to have Dr. Naj from Center for Reproductive Health and Gynecology with us today. Dr. Naj, thank you so much for joining us.
You. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, and before we jump into today's discussion, I'd also like to briefly introduce ACRC Global. ACRC Global was founded in 2015 and is headquartered in Irvine, California. And over the past 10 years, we've helped more than 1,300 families through their family building journeys. And we specialize in surrogacy, egg and sperm donation programs, embryo transportation, and international family building support. And beyond matching services, we also do work closely with medical, legal, and financial teams to help intended parents navigate the process with more clarity and support. And we believe every journey is unique, and we hope to provide not only professional guidance, but also just a better experience throughout the process. And for intended parents who may eventually explore donor options, ACRC also does have an egg donor database. We right now have over 200 egg donors that are available for fresh donation, and parents are able to search and filter based on preferences such as ethnicity, blood type, educational background. We even have a height filter as well. And each profile includes detailed background information, childhood photos, interests, and some have introduction videos as well. And all donors go through a screening process, including medical history review and genetic screening. All right. And again, thank you, Dr. Naj, for joining us today. Would you like to briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having me today, and welcome to the patient's family, the family members that have joined also. I'm a reproductive endocrinology and fertility specialist. I've been doing this for about 30 years now. My school, I went to USC medical school, residency, and fellowship, and basically taught there for a while. But the thing is, I've been in private practice now in Beverly Hills for about 30 years, and it's been a journey. I don't come to work. I actually enjoy what I do and don't consider it work. I feel that over the years, the many years of experience has made me look at things a little differently. It's perspective a lot of times of your doctor affects what we do. And so hopefully I'll be able to convey some of that today. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. And if today's webinar does spark any interest or you'd like to have an individual discussion with us, we do offer complimentary consultations. You can just scan the QR code on the screen. And we know that everyone's fertility journey is different. So sometimes having that personalized discussion is very helpful. And yeah, you can reach out to us at any time before or after today's session. All right, so let's get into the main discussion. So for our first question, many women today are starting families later in life. So from a medical perspective, what actually changes after age 38 or 40 when it comes to fertility?
Well, thank you very much. I think maybe we should start from just some baseline facts so that we can then go from there. A 20-year-old trying to get pregnant might have a 20% per month chance of getting pregnant on her own. And if you give them the most aggressive treatment, for example, in vitro, that's about 85%. 30-year-old, it drops down baseline from 20 to 10%, and the IVF success rates go down to 65%. So, it's not like it's 38 is some magical number, because by age 39, the baseline pregnancy rates per month, if assuming everything is perfect, has dropped to about 3%, and in vitro success rates around 25, and above age 40, baseline 1%, and in vitro success rates between 40 to 43 around 16, and above 43 down 5 to 10. So when you look at the progression of, patients trying to get pregnant on their own, the best time to get pregnant is around 30. The problem is nobody at age 30 is trying to get pregnant. They're finished school or they're working, and mainly they're going to Cabo San Lucas. They're not coming here. But bottom line is, most people are trying to get pregnant a little later because of work, education, and the life. And so, yes, 38 to 40, you start having decrease in pregnancy rates because with age comes lower egg quality, higher aneuploidy or abnormality in the embryos created, and so therefore a lower pregnancy rate and a higher miscarriage rate. But there are patients who are 30 with fertility problems, and there are 43-year-olds who are super fertile, of course. So it's not everyone, but just saying that with time and age, the eggs become not as good. Now, we're not chauvinists. It takes sperm and egg and uterus and tubes, and that's just one component is the egg. I hope I've answered your question, though.
Yeah, no, you definitely did. I think many people like hear fertility declines with age, but I think actually understanding what changes medically is very important. So thank you for laying that out for us. All right. Now, this actually leads pretty well into our next question because one term everyone hears is egg quality. So, egg quality declines with age, but we don't fully understand what that means. So, what exactly changes in egg quality over time?
So the only way to really know this is like and for example, if you are doing in vitro. I'm not suggesting that's the only way to find out, but I'm saying when you're doing in vitro and you retrieve eggs from someone who's 20, someone who's 30, someone who's 39, or someone who's 44, the embryologist notices by looking at the embryos that certain eggs are excellent quality, poor, good quality, or poor quality by looking at the cells, and they grade them like excellent, good, or poor. That's the first view. That's in the lab. The second part is fertilization rates may be different. Like, it's between 60 to 90, and there's a better egg quality, have a higher fertilization rates, assuming sperm is perfect. And lower egg quality has up down to 40 to 50% fertilization rate, but on average is around 60 to 90. And then once that embryo is created, they have a certain grading and a rate of growth. And if you have a poor egg quality, you have a slower growth. You have more fragmentation, so the grading gets different. The smaller percentage make it to day 5 or 6 blastocyst stage, and their grading system of AA, as you know, everybody you got a grade, right? A is better than B. Worse, C is worse. So AA, AB, BB, CC. So you get lower and lower grading as we get older. And then when you genetically test the embryos, a 20-year-old might have a 10% abnormality rate in their genes, the embryo genes. And as we get older, like 43-year-olds have about a 75% abnormality in their genes. So we're talking about those parameters that we look at becoming more problematic with time. Now, that's in the lab. In the patients, I'm sure we'll talk about what parameters do we use prior to getting too involved in finding out what their fertility status is, but this is how you know if eggs are getting worse. Now, as a patient, obviously, as the patient's fertility becomes more compromised, the brain has to work harder to get an egg out, and we have a marker for that. And there are markers for counting eggs and making sure that there is enough of those around, and then there's an ultrasound to find it. But I'm sure we'll talk about that. But those are the things we look at.
Awesome.
I
Yeah.
hope that answered the question and didn't confuse anyone.
Yeah. No, thank you for going into a little more detail. And we actually did have someone before today's webinar. We received a question, and I think it connects well with what we've discussed. So they asked, what can I do to improve my egg quality as a 38-year-old female?
Hmm. Well, that's an interesting question. So it depends on if you ask a university professor or a practicing physician or someone who's experienced for a long time, the answers are different.
Mm.
Or your acupuncturist or your herbalist or someone else. So everybody has a different answer. But in general, most of us agree that whatever your egg quality is can only be changed so much, right? So you cannot take a 45-year-old's eggs to a 20-year-old by taking supplements of coenzyme Q, DHEA, get an acupuncture, herbs, and so forth. But you can make improvements on them because nobody prescribes stress, poor eating habits, and being stressed out, emotional, and not eating and sleeping well. No one ever does that, right? So I think that the baseline is if you're not sleeping well helps. If you're not eating properly, proper nutrition and balanced nutrition helps. If you're stressed, somehow figuring out how to decrease that helps. You put that aside for a minute because I had an egg donor when it was about 15, 20 years ago, who gave us eggs and they were awesome. And she was a medical student. Then a few months later, she gave us eggs and they were not so good. So I called her because it wasn't in our books that that could happen. And I realized on the first cycle, she was going through a psychiatry rotation, where it was a very easy rotation where she was sleeping and not stressed. But later on, she was going through a general surgery rotation where she was stressed, not eating, not sleeping, and just not good. So we know that those lifestyle things affect us. But we also know supplements that I just said, NAD, coenzyme Q8, DHEA, acupuncture, herbs, all those things can help things. Then we go to the other category where high dose antioxidants, glutathione, NAD, occasionally in cases PRP or exosomes can also improve egg quality. But also all this to a degree, right? I mean, it's not like a 44-year-old can become a 30-year-old.
Mhm.
So yes, there are many things we can do to try to improve to a certain degree.
Awesome. Yeah, I think especially a lot of intended parents going through the IVF process, it's already pretty stressful. So I think it's important for them to, keep that in mind that the like stress can affect, to some degree, the outcome.
Yeah, so the problem with that is that if you tell someone who's stressed from fertility issues
Yeah.
to just don't to decrease your stress, they want to hit you because obviously they don't know how to do that. But we're
Hmm.
talking in general, stress is not good. Now you have to kind of see how you could, in some way, reduce it in your way, the best you can.
Yeah. No.
I think some of that comes from trusting your doctor, starts trusting the clinic you're at, feeling comfortable, feeling heard, and knowing that someone's doing something and you have a path forward. That can reduce stress.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm that person that when someone tells me to like just relax, that just makes me think about it more and more, right? So, all
Yeah,
right. Okay, so let's move on to question three. So, can someone still get pregnant naturally after 40? And at what point would you usually recommend seeing a fertility specialist with age?
great. I think that patients below the age of 35 should, assuming there's no other issues, should probably try about a year before trying to see if they should see a doctor because that's reasonable. Patients above the age 35, because there's less time left, maybe after 6 months of trying, maybe you should at least look into it. And when I say look into it, it means you could see your gynecologist or a fertility doctor. You don't have to come see me. But basic tests like sperm tests, X-ray of the tubes and the uterus, and basic hormone tests to make sure that you're ovulating and the egg count is okay. Those are those. And I think the first part of your question was, at what point should the 38-year-old come? Is that what it
All
was?
right, can someone still get
Oh,
naturally
can
pregnant
they
after
pregnant natural
40?
age of 40? Yeah, the answer for that is of course. There are many patients that are getting pregnant above the age of 30 or 40 and having kids without assistance. The thing about it is you go to the labor and delivery, you're going to find people like that, right? It's just that in the group of 35-year-olds, a lot more people are getting pregnant there. In a group of 38-year-olds, a few less people are getting pregnant. And a group of 40s, less are getting pregnant, just because of the statistics, right?
Right.
But still, for sure, there are as many people who are 40 and getting pregnant on their own.
Awesome.
Sometimes I do a consult, they haven't gotten pregnant forever, and then next thing you know, they call me and say they're pregnant. I didn't do anything. So obviously it happens a lot. It happens a lot, thank God.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But that doesn't mean that you should not check to see that things are okay or not. Because if things are not okay, then it's better not to waste time.
Right. And, money, resources. Exactly.